Good morning, friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about using die cuts and DIY embellishments to jazz up very plain cards. So I grabbed this pad, and this pad was a pad I already had in my stash. And because it's Christmas in July and I haven't made a lot of Christmas cards in a while, I know my stash is getting down. So I thought I would come on and show you a little bit how I use very inexpensive paper to stretch my stash and jazz up my Christmas cards a little bit. So I will walk you through the process as I assemble these. And yeah, here we go. Okay, so first things first, I want to point out that a lot of paper pads have cut-aparts, and one of the best ways to stretch your stash is to use those cut-aparts to your advantage. And what I mean by that is basically cut them out. This is a 6x6, so if you were going to make 6x6 cards, which I never do, cutting these apart would be a very easy way to embellish your Christmas cards. But this page is actually the page that I think would be the most useful. And as you can see, I've already cut apart one of the pages, and I've used some of the tags and things in on my cards. These are also great if you do December daily or pocket scrapbooking. These are 3x4 cards. They're also great if you're going to make Christmas tags. So I highly recommend cutting these apart and using these as a base for your cards. So I'll show you a little bit what I mean. So off camera, I cut and assembled some of these little cards. They're not fully assembled, but I'll show you the elements. So this is one of those cut aparts from the 12x12 page that I showed you already. And I would also like to point out that I'm mixing collections here. So these are scraps I had in my stash in my Christmas bin. Basically, this die cut is going to be the foundation for a sentiment. So putting that on there is a really easy way to make your card a little bit more fancy. You could also stamp, of course. I was not in the mood for stamping today. But if you're anything like me, you get going on Christmas, and I always end up with little baskets and bins of leftover things that I didn't get a chance to use up. So this is a great opportunity to break out those little baggies or wherever you may keep your leftover die cuts and things. So basically, try to center that. It's not cooperating very well. Is it crooked? Of course it is. The wonderful thing about this Barely Art glue, it dries matte and it dries perfectly clear, so you and I will be the only ones that know I made a boo-boo there. All right, so this is another great way to use your scraps, and I just actually flipped this over because I wanted something white and I didn't have anything pre-cut. So this is how I'm using it. And again, used my scraps to cut out some of my dies. If you've got a Cricut machine or another electronic die cutting machine, this is a great way to take some of the stress out of card making. And if you're someone who does craft shows and things, it's a great way to do some batch cutting, so you're not stuck putting all of these little pieces together at the very last minute. Did not plan that out very well. Okay, well, that one we will put aside, and I will find something else. So this is a poinsettia die cut embellishment that I made, again, using my scraps. I did all of this off camera, and this was in that bin of leftover pieces that I just never used. I think probably mostly because they're quite large. They ended up being a little bit too large for my December daily. So they've been sitting in my stash now for a while. Good to get them used up. And again, my scraps got put to good use. There, I'm gonna glue that guy down. It's simple and it's relatively flat, but I think that if you're doing these cards that you need to mail to family, it's better to have these be flat and let the paper and the journal card do most of the work for you. So it's another die cut. Again, something I had in my little leftover bin. I think I'm going to tuck that under. It's another one I made. So if you are kind of trying to get started and you don't have a lot of creative energy to spend, sitting in front of your TV or watching a show or listening to an audiobook while you just die cut massive amounts of things is a good way to spend your time. There. And then this one is another one. These are fantastic dies. I actually got them on, I think it was AliExpress. And I haven't had great luck with the dies on AliExpress because I feel like they don't always cut well, but this one is fantastic. Sorry if you can hear the air conditioner in the background. Where I am, we are experiencing probably the hottest and most humid summer I can remember. And I'm just keeping these cards really simple. Again, if there's something that you want to mail. There's another one of those poinsettias that I made. And the paper doesn't match perfectly, but I like that look. If you don't like that look, obviously you can just grab whatever paper collection you have on hand and put that to work for you. Another one done. And then this one is one that I, again, scraps, and I had a pre-stamped sentiment that didn't get used. And this little guy was a gift tag that I made that didn't get used. And I made him on my Cricut. And put down his little mittens. Okay, so there are 6 very unfussy Christmas cards using very inexpensive paper and just some DIY embellishments that you can throw together. Raid your scrap bin and make sure you're stretching your stash as far as you can. And another really great way to stretch is any of the offcuts that you have, you can throw on the inside of cards and just add them as an embellishment. I didn't do that on all of the cards, but it's also a great way to keep your scraps from building up. So this is just a little preview of some of the pieces that I'm hoping to use up, and I may actually see what can go on the inside. Don't forget your sentiments can also be used on the inside of cards, and die cutting things in advance is always a good option, and embellishing things in advance. Yeah, so raid your scrap bin and make some flat, very mailable cards, and it'll help you tackle some of your scraps. And if you have any DIY embellishments or any leftover stamped sentiments, put them to work and get a jump on your Christmas cards. All right, friends, that's it for me for today. As always, thanks for coming to hang out with me, and I will see you next video. Bye for now.